In this lesson, we're going to talk about planning for your test automation deployment. A deployment plan contains a definition of our project goals, some specified way to meet those goals, and finally, some method to review our progress. Of course, your project goals might change shape or direction, so our focus on deployment here is especially meant to capture the initial stages of your automation project. So with this basic plan in place, let's get into some of the relevant details. We'll cover all three of these pieces: defining goals, designing the approach, and reviewing progress. One reason a deployment plan is important is because it allows us to clearly define our project goals. But it's critical that we sort out two different types of goals that are relevant here. To start, let's think about your business requirements, which might be improving your product quality, reducing time to market, shortening a regression cycle, or decreasing reliance on manual testing resources. Business requirements provide the motivation or the grounding for an automation project. They can demonstrate and explain the value that the project will bring. So it's helpful to specify business requirements in your deployment plan because as your automation project is created, begins, and as it progresses, all the relevant stakeholders should understand the value that they are after. The second type of goals specified in a deployment plan are a project's technical requirements. Technical requirements follow from business requirements, in the sense that if we achieve our project's technical requirements, we will achieve our business requirements. These might include things like automating a test for an application or converting some set of manual test cases into automated tests. So ultimately, the process of defining your goals begins by stating your business requirements and ends by stating the technical requirements, which when achieved, have you realize the value that motivated your project in the first place. After your goals are defined, it's time to design a reasonable strategy for attaining these goals. A good design here will require that we consider the significant details about your project. We find it useful to identify and then organize these details by asking who, what, when, why, and how about your project. Your roster specifies the people resources of you, the customer, your test automation platform, and potentially a service partner that you've chosen to work with. Your scope specifies the systems, devices, and applications that are targeted for automation and testing. Your timeline provides a schedule for achieving various project milestones. And your value is described by your business requirements, which we just covered. And finally, your implementation specifies the infrastructure that is necessary to carry out your technical requirements. All of these pieces should be considered when designing an approach to meet your project goals. So at this point, we've reviewed the important points of defining your project goals and the details we'll need to consider when designing a strategy to meet those goals. The last significant piece of your deployment plan will be specification of how we'll review your progress at the end of the deployment period. Ultimately, the timeline of your deployment plan will contain information about the duration of your automation project's deployment phase, and more specifically, it will map out the dates on which we will review our progress. To tie all of this back to our previous discussion, your timeline will indicate when you should be meeting your technical requirements. In many cases, this simply involves a review of the number of tests that we are able to automate. Reviewing progress is important because it allows us to confirm that the achievement of our technical requirements gained us the value that's expressed by your business requirements. As your project shifts out of its deployment phase, the results of this review process will help to inform and shape our project moving forward.